It was one of those calm Saturday mornings when the sky hung low with soft clouds and the air smelled faintly of rain. Emma adjusted her yoga mat under her arm and waved goodbye to the group of women chatting outside the studio in Maplewood, a small, peaceful town just outside Seattle. She had started yoga a few months ago, mostly to find peace after her recent divorce. It wasn't bitter, but it left her with a quiet ache, the kind that lingered even when you smiled. Her life had become simple: work, home, yoga, and the occasional dinner with her best friend Laura. That morning, Laura had promised to join her for class but had texted last minute, "Running late, sweetie. Ethan will pick you up after class and drop you home. He's already nearby." Emma smiled when she read it. Ethan, Laura's 25-year-old son, was polite, charming, and always smiling. He'd grown up before Emma's eyes. From a shy boy with messy hair into a confident young man who always said ma'am even though she told him not to. Still, she hesitated. A ride home with Ethan. It had been years since they'd really talked. But when she stepped out of the studio and saw his car pull up, a sleek gray SUV with music playing softly, something inside her relaxed. Ethan leaned over from the driver's seat, his familiar grin lighting up his face. "Hey, Miss Emma. Need a ride?" She laughed. "You can drop the miss. Makes me feel ancient." He chuckled, brushing his hair back. "All right then. Emma, hop in." The moment she got in, she noticed how different he looked. Not just older, different. His voice had that low, steady calm of a man who'd seen life a bit. His hands on the steering wheel, his quiet confidence, it caught her off guard. "So," she said, breaking the silence, "how's work? Laura tells me you're back from Chicago." "Yeah," he replied. "Finished my project early. Thought I'd spend some time here before figuring out what's next." He glanced at her with a smile. "It's strange being back. Everything feels smaller than I remember." Emma nodded. "That's how it goes. You leave, grow up, and when you come back, the town hasn't changed but you have." He looked at her for a moment before saying, "Yeah, guess you'd know that better than me." His words carried a soft understanding. She didn't know if Laura had told him about her divorce, but the look in his eyes said he knew enough. They drove through the quiet streets, golden leaves swirling across the road. The conversation flowed: Isley, work, books, travel, music. She realized she hadn't laughed like that in weeks. When the rain started, it came down gently, tapping against the windshield. Ethan reached to turn on the wipers and smiled sideways. "I forgot how peaceful rain sounds here." Emma smiled too. It's one of the few things that never disappoints. For a few moments, neither spoke. The car was filled with soft music and the rhythmic sound of rain. She could feel the warmth of the heater, the quiet comfort of being beside someone who wasn't asking her to talk, but simply listening when she did. Then, unexpectedly, the car slowed to a stop. Emma looked up. They weren't near her house yet. They'd stopped by the lake road, the one that curved past the tall pines. The lake shimmered faintly under the gray sky. "Everything okay?" she asked. Ethan nodded, looking ahead. "Yeah, just thought we could sit for a minute. I used to come here with Mom when I was a kid. She said this view makes everything feel small and beautiful at the same time." Emma smiled softly. "Your mom was right." They sat there in silence, the air filled with the sound of raindrops on the car roof. For some reason, Emma felt like she could breathe again, like all the heavy thoughts she carried were lifting. Slowly, gently, Ethan turned to her, his expression thoughtful. "You seem different lately." Emma looked at him, caught off guard. "Different?" "Yeah," he said quietly. "Like you're holding your breath all the time. Like you're waiting for something that never comes." His words hit her heart. She hadn't expected him to notice. "I guess," she admitted softly, "I've been trying to find my balance again. Some days are good, some not so much." He nodded, his eyes sincere. "You're stronger than you think, Emma. You always were." That simple line, the way he said it, calm and steady, made her look at him differently. She saw not the boy who used to run around Laura's backyard, but a man who had learned how to see people deeply. The moment stretched, quiet and warm. Outside, the rain began to slow. Emma turned her gaze back to the lake, her voice almost a whisper. "Thank you, Ethan, for noticing." He smiled gently. "I always noticed." Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. It was Laura. The screen lit up with her name, breaking the stillness. Ethan laughed lightly. "Mom's probably checking if I got you home safe." Emma chuckled too, but something in her chest fluttered, something she didn't expect to feel. As Ethan started the car again, the moment dissolved into the hum of the engine and the soft music that returned. But inside Emma's heart, something had changed. She looked out at the quiet, rain-soaked road. trying to steady her thoughts, unaware that this simple ride home was about to stir feelings she hadn't faced in years. Because sometimes, life surprises us not with what happens, but with who makes us feel alive again. The rain had softened into a fine mist by the time Ethan pulled into Emma's driveway. The porch light flickered gently, casting a warm glow on the damp pavement. "Thanks for the ride," Emma said, her voice light, but her heart quietly restless. Ethan smiled. "Anytime. Really?" She hesitated before stepping out, noticing how he waited until she reached the door before driving away. A small, thoughtful gesture, but it lingered in her mind longer than she expected. That night, Emma sat by her window with a cup of tea, staring at the rain-slick streets. Her life had been quiet for months, predictable, yet something about that short drive, that unexpected calm in Ethan's voice, had left a warmth she couldn't quite name. She tried to brush it off. "He's Laura's son, for heaven's sake," but the mind doesn't follow rules the heart doesn't agree with. The next morning, her phone buzzed with a message. "Ethan, hope you made it home dry. Mom's asking if you're coming for dinner tomorrow." Emma smiled. Laura's Sunday dinners were legendary home-cooked meals, laughter, and long stories. But the thought of seeing Ethan again brought a quiet flutter to her chest. "Emma, tell your mom I wouldn't miss it." By the next evening, the rain had cleared. The world smelled fresh, washed clean. When Emma arrived at Laura's house, she was greeted by the familiar warmth of cinnamon candles and laughter echoing from the kitchen. "Emma," Laura exclaimed, hugging her tight, "I missed you last night. Thank you for letting Ethan pick you up." Emma smiled. "He was a perfect gentleman." Laura grinned. "He always adored you, you know. When he was little, he used to tell me he'd marry someone just like you one day." Emma laughed it off, but inside, her heart skipped a quiet beat. Dinner was cozy. The three of them sat together, talking about everything from old neighbors to Ethan's years in Chicago. He told stories about the city, the traffic, the music, the long walks by the river, and every time he spoke, there was an ease in his tone that made everyone listen. At one point, when Laura went to the kitchen to grab dessert, Ethan leaned closer. "It's good seeing you smile again," he said softly. Emma looked at him, caught between surprise and gratitude. "You notice too much," she said gently. He smiled. "Only the things that matter." Something about that moment felt suspended, too fragile to name, too human to deny. Before she could respond, Laura's voice floated from the kitchen. "Ethan, help me with the pie, will you?" He stood, giving Emma a knowing glance. "Don't go anywhere," he teased lightly before disappearing through the doorway. Later that night, after dinner and laughter, Ethan offered to walk Emma to her car. The evening air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine. "I'm glad you came," he said as they reached her car. "Me too," she replied, smiling. "Your mom's dinners are the best therapy." Ethan nodded, then hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." He looked at her carefully, his tone gentle. "Are you happy, Emma?" The question caught her off guard, not because it was invasive, but because it was honest. She hesitated, then said quietly, "I'm learning to be." He nodded slowly, his eyes warm. "You deserve more than just learning. You deserve peace. And joy. The real kind." For a moment, she couldn't find words. His sincerity was disarming. There was no charm or pretense, just truth. "I'll keep that in mind," she said softly, trying to mask the emotion in her voice. He smiled faintly, stepping back. "Good night, Emma." "Good night, Ethan." As she drove away, her heart felt both heavy and light, a confusing mix of emotions she hadn't felt in years. Back home, she replayed their conversation in her mind. The way he looked at her, not with pity, but with understanding. She didn't know what it meant or where it was heading, but something deep within her was awakening, something long buried beneath layers of "I'm fine." She sat on her couch, hugging her knees, whispering to herself, "What are you doing, Emma?" But her heart had already begun to answer. Because sometimes, the person who reminds you how to feel again isn't the one you expect. Sunday night faded into Monday, but Emma's thoughts hadn't. She tried focusing on work the next day, the endless emails, the conference calls, the polite small talk. But every now and then, her mind would drift back to that moment outside Laura's house, when Ethan had asked, "Are you happy?" It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Quiet, real, like he actually cared about the answer. By mid-afternoon she found herself smiling at nothing in particular, her coworkers noticing. "Someone's having a good Monday," one joked. She laughed it off, but inside, she knew something had shifted. That evening, as she poured herself a glass of wine and stepped onto her porch, her phone buzzed. "Ethan, hey, Emma, you busy?" I'm grabbing coffee at that little spot near the yoga studio. Thought you might like a cup too. Her first instinct was to say no to keep things simple, but curiosity, that quiet spark of connection, tugged at her heart. Emma, you caught me at the right time. I'll meet you there. The cafe was cozy, lit with soft amber lights and the hum of low conversation. When she walked in, Ethan was already seated by the window, tapping his phone. He looked up, smiled, and waved. She noticed the little things, the way he stood up when she arrived, the way he pulled out a chair for her, the way his smile reached his eyes. Didn't expect to see you again this soon, she teased as she sat down. He grinned, guessed the universe had other plans. They talked for over an hour. About small things, big things, and everything in between. Books, travel, dreams that got lost along the way. Somewhere between laughter and reflection, she realized how easy it was with him. No pretending, no guard, just connection. At one point, Ethan looked at her with quiet seriousness. You ever think about starting over? He asked. She tilted her head. Starting over. He nodded, like, forgetting the past, the mistakes, the things that hurt you, and just beginning again, with a clear heart. Emma smiled faintly. That sounds beautiful. But it's not that simple, is it? He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just about choosing peace over pain, even when peace scares you more. His words landed deep. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The world outside the cafe blurred into soft colors, lights, rain, and quiet music. It felt like time had slowed, like the universe was giving her space to breathe again. When they finally got up to leave, he offered her his hand just to help her up. But when their hands touched, a soft current ran through her. It wasn't dramatic or forbidden. It was simply human, warm, real. Outside, the rain had started again, light and misty, like the kind that makes the air smell alive. Let me walk you to your car, Ethan said. They walked side by side, quiet at first. The streetlights reflected off the wet pavement, and the cool breeze carried the scent of coffee and rain. You know, she said finally, I used to love nights like this, the kind where everything feels like a new beginning. Ethan looked at her, smiling. Then maybe this is one. She turned to face him. You always say the right thing, don't you? He laughed softly, only when I mean it. For a second, their eyes held long enough for her to feel something she hadn't in years. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was possibility. He opened her car door for her, then stood there, his hand resting on the frame. Drive safe, Emma. She smiled, her heart unsteady in the most unexpected way. You too, Ethan. As she pulled away, she caught a glimpse of him in her rearview mirror, standing under the streetlight, hands in his pockets, watching her car disappear into the night. And just like that, she knew her quiet, predictable life had begun to change, one unexpected moment at a time. What she didn't know was that this new connection was about to be tested in ways neither of them saw coming. The following week moved slowly, yet every day seemed to hum with a quiet undercurrent of anticipation. Emma couldn't explain it, but even the simplest moments, like checking her phone or hearing rain against her window, felt a little different now. Every few days, Ethan would text, nothing heavy, just small things. Ethan, I passed your yoga studio today. Thought about trying a class? Do you think I'd survive? Emma, barely, but I'd pay to see that. Their conversations were light, funny, and natural. And in those brief exchanges, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, seen. It was Friday evening when Laura called. Hey, you doing anything tomorrow morning? Not really, Emma replied. Just my usual yoga. Perfect, Laura said cheerfully. Ethan's helping me paint the guest room. You should stop by for lunch. It'll be fun. Emma hesitated. Spending another afternoon at Laura's with Ethan there felt complicated. But saying no would raise questions she wasn't ready to answer. Sure, she said finally, I'll bring dessert. Saturday came bright and sunny, a rare gift for Seattle. Emma baked her favorite lemon cake, the one Laura always loved, and drove over. When she arrived, she found the house buzzing with life. Paint cans on the floor, music playing from the living room, and Laura humming while taping the window frames. Ethan was standing on a stepladder, painting the upper wall. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, streaks of white paint marking his arm. When he looked down and saw Emma, his smile widened instantly. Hey, look who decided to join the chaos. She grinned. I brought cake. That's my kind of help. Laura laughed. And the best kind, too. Ethan, take a break. You've earned it. They gathered in the kitchen, sunlight streaming in through the big window. The air was filled with the scent of lemon, paint, and laughter. At one point, Laura stepped out to take a phone call, leaving Emma and Ethan alone. You really did bake this? He asked, taking another bite. It's incredible. She smiled. I have my moments. He leaned against the counter, watching her with quiet curiosity. You always look so calm, he said softly. Like you carry peace around with you. Emma laughed gently. If only you knew how untrue that is. He tilted his head. Maybe calm doesn't mean you're never shaken. Maybe it means you've learned to hold yourself steady anyway. His words caught her off guard again. That was Ethan. He had this way of saying things that slipped past her defenses and went straight to her heart. For a few seconds, they stood there, the silence between them alive with unspoken emotion. Then Laura returned, cheerful and unaware, breaking the moment. You two look serious. Did I miss something? Ethan quickly smiled. Just convincing Emma she should help us paint. Emma shook her head, laughing. Not a chance. The afternoon passed easily, filled with music, chatter, and light teasing, but under it all, there was a gentle current neither Emma nor Ethan could ignore. Later, when Laura stepped outside to water her plants, Emma helped Ethan clean up the brushes. Their hands brushed when they both reached for the same rag. Small, ordinary touch, yet something electric moved between them. She looked up at him, her pulse unsteady. Ethan, she began softly, unsure what to even say. But he spoke first. I know. His tone was quiet, calm, but there was something in his eyes that made her chest tighten. You don't have to say it. They stood there for a heartbeat too long. The world outside fading into stillness. Then Laura's voice called from the yard. Ethan, I need help with the hose. He stepped back slightly, the moment breaking like a soft sigh. I'll be right back, he said gently, and just like that, he was gone, leaving Emma standing in the kitchen, her heart racing with questions she wasn't ready to face. That night, as she drove home, the memory of his voice echoed in her mind. You don't have to say it, but what did he mean? That he felt it too? That he knew what she was trying to hide from him? From herself? From the world that would never understand? Emma pulled into her driveway, turned off the car, and sat there for a moment in silence. The moonlight spilled softly over the hood of her car, and the world felt both beautiful and uncertain. Whatever this was, whatever it was becoming, she knew it wasn't just friendship anymore. And yet, it couldn't be love, could it? Because some feelings are too fragile, too complicated, too unexpected, and they arrive just when you thought your heart had gone quiet forever. The next few days unfolded in quiet confusion. Emma went about her routine, yoga, work, coffee, repeat, but something deep within her had shifted. She tried to ignore it, bury it under logic and reason, but her heart had already made its choice. And the truth was simple, though she tried not to say it out loud. She missed Ethan. Every smile, every quiet glance, every word that seemed to see straight through her, it all replayed in her mind. Like a song she couldn't turn off. She told herself it was just friendship, a connection, a moment, nothing more. But even she didn't believe that anymore. It was Thursday afternoon when her phone rang. Ethan. Hey, Emma, I need a favor, and before you say no, hear me out. She laughed, instantly suspicious. That's never a good start. He chuckled. My car battery's dead, and I have a meeting across town in an hour. Could you possibly give you a ride? She finished, smiling. Fine, but you owe me coffee. Deal. When she pulled up in front of his house, Ethan was already waiting by the curb, wearing that familiar grin that somehow made her pulse skip. Now the roles are reversed, she teased as he got in. I'm the one rescuing you this time. He laughed. Guess it's only fair. As they drove, the air between them was light, filled with teasing, laughter, and the kind of ease that comes only when two people forget to pretend. But somewhere along the way, the conversation turned softer. I've been thinking about what you said, Emma murmured. Ethan glanced at her. About what? Starting over. Choosing peace, even when it scares you. He smiled gently, and she took a breath. Maybe I've been waiting for someone to remind me that it's still possible. He didn't speak right away. When he finally did, his voice was quiet. Then I'm glad I did. They shared a long look, not one of confusion or guilt, but of recognition, the kind that says I see you. I feel it too. When they reached his office, Ethan hesitated before getting out. Thanks for the ride, he said, his tone softer than usual. Emma smiled. Anytime. He didn't move. His hand lingered on the door handle. Then, turning toward her, he said quietly, "You know, every time I'm around you, I feel calm, like the world finally makes sense." Emma's heart clenched. "Ethan." He held her gaze, eyes full of something steady and unspoken. "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know." And before she could respond, he stepped out. Closing the door gently behind him, she sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, her heart thudding in the stillness. That night, the air felt different, heavier somehow. The rain had returned, tapping gently against her windows, as if echoing the storm inside her. Emma walked through her quiet home, her thoughts loud. She wasn't naive, she knew what the world would say, if they knew how she felt. Laura's son. Too young, too complicated, but emotions don't always follow rules. Sometimes, the heart sees something the world can't. And what she saw in Ethan wasn't youth or timing or circumstance, it was kindness. Warmth, a quiet understanding she hadn't felt in years. The next morning, she went to yoga, hoping to clear her head. But halfway through class, her phone buzzed with a message that made her heart skip. "Ethan, meet me at the Lake Road tonight. 7 p.m. please." The Lake Road. The same place where he'd stopped the car that rainy afternoon. She stared at the message for a long time. Every part of her told her to be cautious, but something stronger told her she needed to go, because some moments in life don't come twice. That evening, the sun dipped behind the trees as Emma drove toward the lake. The road glowed gold under the fading light, and her chest tightened with every passing mile. When she arrived, Ethan was already there, leaning against his car, hands in his pockets, waiting quietly. He looked up when he saw her, his expression calm but full of something unspoken. "You came?" he said softly. "I shouldn't have," she whispered. "I know," he said, "but I'm glad you did." The air between them was still, the lake shimmering under the pale sunset. "Ethan," she began, her voice trembling, "this. Whatever it is, it can't happen. You know that." He nodded slowly. "I know. But that doesn't change what's real." She looked away, her heart caught between reason and feeling. "And what is real, Ethan?" He stepped closer, his voice low and steady. "That I care about you. That you make me want to be someone better. That for the first time in a long time, I feel something that isn't confusion or noise, it's peace." Her breath caught. His words were simple, but the truth in them was overwhelming. She didn't move, neither did he. The world around them seemed to fade. The sound of water, the wind through the trees. Everything quiet except for the steady rhythm of their hearts. And in that silence, Emma realized something she hadn't dared to before. She wasn't afraid of feeling anymore. Not love, not hope, not even the risk of heartbreak. She was alive again. The sky over the lake had turned a deep shade of gold and lavender. The water shimmered like glass, still and endless. Emma stood there, her heart pounding softly, while Ethan's words lingered in the cool evening air. For a long moment, neither spoke. It wasn't the kind of silence that asked to be broken. It was the kind that meant something. Finally, Emma took a slow breath. "Ethan," she said quietly, "what you're feeling. It's kind. It's honest. But life isn't always fair to feelings like that." He met her gaze, eyes steady. "Maybe not. But sometimes the right people find each other at the wrong time, and that doesn't make it wrong." His calmness shook her. He wasn't impulsive or careless. He wasn't chasing a fantasy. He was simply telling the truth, with a heart far wiser than his years. "I don't know how to handle this," she whispered. "You're my friend's son. I care about your mother. I care about you too," but he took a small step closer. "Then care about yourself, too. You've spent so long putting everyone else first. Emma, maybe this time, let something good reach you." Her throat tightened. He wasn't pleading. He wasn't trying to change her mind. He was just there, open, honest, real. The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a bird called out. The lake reflected the fading light like a mirror to everything she'd been holding inside. "I don't want to hurt anyone," she said. "You won't," he replied gently. "You've only ever tried to heal people." Tears welled in her eyes before she could stop them. She turned away, wiping them quickly, embarrassed. But Ethan stepped closer, not too close. Just enough to let her know he was near. "Emma," he said softly, "you don't have to run from peace just because it comes from somewhere unexpected." She looked up at him, her heart fragile but full. "You make everything sound so simple." He smiled faintly. "That's because the truth usually is." For a moment, they just stood there, the world quiet, the lake glowing under the dimming sky. It wasn't about age or boundaries anymore. It was about two people who had found light in each other after years of darkness. But Emma knew what she had to do. She had to be careful not just for herself, but for him too. She placed a hand gently on his arm. "You've reminded me what it feels like to live again. To feel hope. And that's something I'll always be grateful for." Ethan looked at her, eyes warm but sad. "So this is goodbye?" She shook her head softly. "No. It's not goodbye. It's a beginning of something different. Maybe not what we expected, but something good, something right." He nodded slowly, understanding her in a way only he could. "Then promise me one thing," he said quietly. "Don't close your heart again. Not for anyone. You deserve more than silence." A tear slipped down her cheek as she smiled. "I promise." He smiled back, the kind of smile that holds both ache and peace. Then, with one last look, he turned and walked toward his car. Emma watched him go, her heart heavy yet strangely free. She knew what they shared wasn't a mistake, it was a reminder that love, in all its forms, doesn't always need to last forever to mean something forever. As his car disappeared down the lake road, she stood there alone, breathing in the cool evening air. The world felt wider somehow, quieter, clearer. She whispered into the stillness, "Thank you, Ethan, for finding me when I'd forgotten how to be found." Then, slowly, she turned back toward her car, the soft sound of the wind carrying through the trees like a promise. Because life wasn't over for her. It was just beginning again. The Eon Ditha, thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share to support the channel. Your support helps us bring more heartfelt stories like this to life.